Welcome to On Our Watch, a podcast about coastal erosion and sustainability in Louisiana, as well as the implications for coastal systems worldwide. My name is Marian Evans. I'm a filmmaker and a producer of the documentary On Our Watch, a feature-length film about Louisiana's coastal land loss crisis. The film's director, Jonathan Evans, and I are proud to produce this podcast series that will continue to explore important coastal issues through conversations with local residents, community leaders, and experts. This episode is the first of a three-part series focusing on the importance of mental health care in coastal communities, and specifically in Lafourche Parish. Today, we're speaking to Nicole Bourgeois. Nicole is a development specialist at the Lafourche Parish Brief Therapy Center, a free counseling service launched by the Lafourche Parish government that's available for all Lafourche Parish residents. And now, our interview with Nicole Bourgeois. Well, thank you, Nicole, for joining us today.
Yes.
So you're a licensed therapist here in Lafourche Parish, and I wanted to ask you about how you initially got into mental health care.
Yeah, so I was always the kid that everybody helped, and I think it's a pretty common story for most of us in mental health, that everybody went to for help and tried to help as many people as possible. And I actually got my undergraduate in psychology at Northwestern. And when I was in the undergrad program, there was actually a flyer for marriage and family therapy, which is the field that I'm in. And it clicked for me. I always wanted to work with children. It's been my passion since day one. And to know that you could help a child and get a child better, per se, but then you send them back to the family that helped create the problems. And so I became a marriage and family therapist to include children, to be able to work with the family, and to be more inclusive, rather than just pulling the child out of the environment, giving them the skills that I think they need to survive the environment, and then putting them right back in that same environment. And so that's where my passion for marriage and family therapy came from. And I got my master's at ULM. And then didn't realize I wasn't ready to grow up yet. So I went to St. Mary's University and got my PhD in marriage and family therapy as well, where I've gotten to work a little bit with play therapy, as well as some trauma therapies, a lot of military therapy in San Antonio, and just kind of got to see a broader range of people in that process.
Okay, so really looking at the effects of the family on a child and how that affects their mental health.
Right, and the family, the system around them. So systems theories are, we see that the person with the symptoms is the person brave enough to tell us something's wrong. And then we look all around them to see where things are out of line, what's not clicking, what's not working, much like a machinist does, right? If there's a click somewhere, we find the click, but then we figure out all the patterns that are leading up to that click. It's kind of similar for us as marriage and family therapists.
And so you're part of a really exciting program here in Lafourche Parish where you're helping to provide free mental health care to residents here. So can you tell me a little bit about what this program is and how it got started?
Absolutely. So the Lafourche Parish Brief Therapy Center is, it's just that. It's a brief therapy center. We offer 8 sessions of counseling at no cost to any Lafourche Parish resident. Regardless of income level, presenting issues, any of those things. Literally our only requirement is that they're a Lafourche Parish resident and they're willing to talk. And so we got started as a response to the opioid epidemic. There was a settlement that brought down an opioid abatement fund is what we called it, or what it's called. And so what that does is it was just given to different local entities, and we were told just to do something with mental health or substance abuse. And so our administration decided that we were going to open a clinic that was going to give access to mental health services for people in our area. What's really exciting about this, and what I'm really excited about, is that we're able to touch that population of people who make too much money to get Medicaid services and to be able to get free services through that, but yet not enough money that they could even use their private insurance if they have it. And so we're able to give some therapy services to that population that's living paycheck to paycheck and is just not going to pay $20, $40, however much per session, even if they are using their insurance. And so we're really excited about that.
Right. So when did this program start?
We got rolling around October.
Okay.
It's been kind of a very soft rollout because it is just me.
Yeah.
And so right now, it's just me for now. But we've gotten really rolling. It's just like any other practice. Like, it's taken time to build up. And I think there's a lot of it's too good to be true. Like, it's really free,
Yeah.
And so we really want to make sure that we're serving the people we're serving, and we're giving them the time and the effort that they need. And so we worked with a lot of our local clinics that if they end up trying to put somebody on a wait list for too long, we can serve as that filler in the gap. Not that we're trying to take people's business from them, but that, if I call and I'm in crisis and it's going to be 6 weeks before I can see a counselor again, we can fill that gap until they can get into regular sessions with another, a long-term mental health professional.
Right. Making sure people know it's available.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
In your experience, what has been the effect of Hurricane Ida on this community, and also just, the effects of living in a coastal community with coastal erosion and other issues like that?
Right. And I think that as far as the mental health side, it just exacerbates everything, and well, we have families who were on the road to building homes, setting themselves up, setting themselves probably on the road to retirement, and then having to turn around and spend thousands and tens of thousands of dollars repairing their home they already paid for. That's a big stressor for a lot of people. A lot of people feel set back financially, and anytime we feel set back financially, we know it doesn't help the overall mental state, but also just the added stress, and especially in the aftermath of the hurricane, just like with COVID, everyday life just got harder. The grocery store took extra time. Everything just got worse and harder, and driving and, getting around and not being able to take time off, that you had to, when you were off of work, you had to clean up your yard. You had to try to prevent things from getting worse. And I think that just that constant stress and that constant worry. And then of course there's the bureaucracy of the paperwork and the getting told no a whole lot, because unfortunately in any helping profession, you say no a lot. And a lot of our nonprofits have been doing great work, but the need is just so much bigger than what anybody could imagine to be able to pull together. And so we're just talking to people about, they're just now getting into permanent housing. They're just now getting settled. Their houses are finally, they're walking on real floor again. And so just a lot of those pieces of just not having your peace. A lot of us have built our homes and our environments, our bedrooms, whatever, to be this place of solace and peace. And when it was destroyed or in repair, you don't have that same solace and peace. So that recharge is not there. That ability to step back and just kind of be in the moment for yourself, turn off the rest of the world, turn off all the stress. It's not there. And we need that. And then I think as humans, we forget to take that moment a lot because our world is so busy.
Right.
And so I think that's a big piece of it. I've always been a big fan of, the more at peace you are in your environment, the better your internal world is going to be as well.
Yeah. And so in addition to the effects of Hurricane Ida and disasters like that, what are some of the other main issues that you've seen affecting the residents here in Lafourche Parish?
Absolutely. One of the main ones is we have the substance abuse. And so we see a lot of families torn apart, a lot of substance abuse addictions, a lot of people not wanting the help. And that, they're just kind of happy in their world. And so, but then there's also the aftermath of their overwhelming hospitals, their overwhelming doctor's offices. Our counseling centers are full of people trying to get, into court-ordered therapies or whatever. And so we really want to make sure that we, you have to be mindful of that as we move forward. Our foster system is overwhelmed, and that's a huge piece of it. So we have kids who are either in the process of being returned home and working with their families or being removed. that is completely overwhelmed in our area, as it is in a lot of other areas. But just to see the aftermath, you have kids who aren't able to get themselves ready for school because mom and dad are not waking up in the morning. And so we're seeing this trickle down effect of the substance abuse. In addition to that, we have a lot of kids who are struggling with a lot of social skills and coping skills and things like that, that would have come naturally from playing with each other through COVID, or instead of what they had to do for COVID, just being able to communicate and interact and have that face-to-face dialogue at young ages. We're seeing a lot of delays, and I've heard a lot of talk about we don't even know the beginning of the long-term impact that those couple of years are going to have on our kiddos. Right. And so just things like that, just making sure that they have the coping skills in place. Kind of a soapbox for me, children don't play like they used to. They're on their devices, they're in their screens. That doesn't offer the same building blocks that true imaginative play, cooperative play can give. And so when we don't build up that ability to play with you and share the same toy, or to have you have an opinion about what I want to play, and I can just go off and play on my own over here, we lose that ability. And that's a communication skill. Our communication skills, our coping skills, all of those, they struggle after that. And so a lot of the work I do is getting kids to just develop those basic coping strategies. How to breathe, how to calm down, how to cooperate, how to understand that you're not always going to get your way. And especially, it used to be just the only children that I would have to work with this on. But I tell parents all the time, like, have an opinion. When you're playing with your child, have an opinion. I know you don't care if you play Candyland or Hi-Ho Cherry-O, but that kid needs you to care every now and then, and to put your foot down and say, no, we're playing Hi-Ho Cherry-O today.
Right.
We're not playing Candyland.
Engagement. Yeah.
So that they learn when they're on the playground that not everybody's going to do everything I want to do.
Right. Yeah, because I think you're so right. COVID, Ida, these events happen so close together. And so everything's like compounded in these couple years for these kids. And what about, do you see any effects of coastal erosion and living in a coastal city on, people's livelihoods, insurance? Like, what are some of the effects on people's mental health that has had?
That's the same as everything else, right? Like, it's that extra stress. Yeah. Anything that's added to the plate that's already full, that's been full, right, just adds to more to that. And so I know there's a lot of struggle with, what are we doing if we're not lowering our house insurance, right? Because a home is one of the first pillars of higher needs, right? Like, we need a home, we need clothes, we need food, we need, once we have that, then we can look at the emotional stuff and everything else. And so a lot of people are very stressed right now, either because they can't live in the homes that they have, or they're adjusting to new homes, new living situations, or they just can't afford the insurance to live in the homes that they've always lived in. One common problem we saw here post-Ida was that we have a lot of inherited homes. So people who lived in these homes that their parents have lived in, and the parents before then. And some of the issue, which I understand, has gotten resolved. Every storm, we learn more lessons, right? One of the issues was that they couldn't get the help because the person whose name was on the house is no longer with us, or they just can't afford what it's going to cost on their end to cover the insurance for that. Because to get assistance from the government, you have to promise to get insurance, and you have to be ready to have your own insurance next time. And a lot of people are just really struggling with their insurance is more than the house note that they used to pay when they were paying off their house. And so there's a lot of added stress, a lot of extra, where is it going to come from? And then, just add the things that the whole nation is dealing with, inflation and the social climate and everything else. It piles up. Yeah. And I like to describe it to my clients as slivers. And so while we may not have one thing to cry about, right? Like, I'm not crying about inflation today. But if you add inflation to the fact that my house is now unaffordable, to my kid is not getting along with his friends at school and you just keep adding those slivers.
Yeah.
Eventually those slivers make a heavy load.
Right.
And it really just working with people on identifying what slivers are we dealing with. I often prescribe that they find a movie to cry about just to get the feeling out, because when you add up those slivers, you're not going to pick one to trigger the cry or the frustration or whatever, but you have that pile up and that weight is still there.
Right. Because people are, trying to be strong, trying to just do what they need to do every day, but you don't acknowledge like all these little things that are affecting you. It can really add up. Yeah. What are some of the positive changes that you've seen from working with people in the community in this program?
So, I mean, we're very new. So one of the things I'm most proud of, though, is that I think probably at least half of the people who have walked through our doors so far may not have walked through other people's doors. That we're getting a population of people who wouldn't normally use mental health services. And so whether that be just because nobody's going to prioritize to pay for them, or they're just, I'm from the community that I serve. So having one of us in the chair across from you is really helpful sometimes, that, just to get it. Right? Things I don't have to explain. If someone comes from somewhere else and I have to explain the food and whatnot, and I've worked in Texas and I've had to have those conversations, and they work. You can make them work, but there's just something different about being able to understand and to have that lived experience. To sit somewhere away and rely on a neighbor who stayed home to tell you that your house is still standing.
Yeah.
And just to be able to do those, to know what it's like to not know what you're coming home to. I think that's a unique experience that we have here, unfortunately, that a lot of people don't fully understand. And I think a lot of just the layers of the crises too. One of the things about COVID is that nobody was okay. Right. And I remember for myself, just, if we have a storm, I call my friend in Tennessee, I call my friend in California, I call my friend somewhere else where things are okay and tell them to tell me about normal life.
Yeah.
Right. Right after Ida, I just wanted to walk through a Halloween decoration section. All of ours were covered with tarps and generators and all that. And I remember going out of town one day and just like strolling through a Halloween section just because that was normal.
Yeah.
It was October. We should be in Halloween sections in October. I needed to see Halloween decorations and just that norm. And we didn't have that for COVID. And so that's one of those things that there was nobody who was okay. And there was nobody who we could reach out to and say like, oh, you got a normal life right now. And then with Ida coming around, a lot of us live right down the street from our family, or we're really close to them. And so our social network is not okay. And so we do have those people we can reach out. I did call my friend from Tennessee and say, hey, just tell me normal. I need normal today. Anything but hurricane. My house is okay.
Yeah.
No, let's talk about anything but a hurricane. We don't have that when we're so ingrained in our community and our families are so local that you finish your house, you go to grandma's house. You finish grandma's house, you go to this person's house. And I think that that's something that our way of life is, while it's an amazing thing, easily. I mean, we have a sense of family that we don't have in a lot of other places. It also can add to some of that stress, because now my crisis is everybody's crisis.
Right.
And
all the people you know and love are here.
Right. And so that's a big stressor, I think, that we have, just culturally speaking.
Yeah. But then you also can be there for each other too. So
right. It's
both sides. Yeah.
It's a both and on that one.
Do you have any plans for the future, or what are your hopes for the future of this program?
Well, we already have a plan that when the Galliano Health Unit opens up, they're already building, I think they broke ground recently. We are already built into that health unit. So we'll have a little section of that health unit where we'll be able to provide these same services to people in South Lafourche, because right now it takes about 45 minutes to an hour for them to get to me at my current location in Central Lafourche. And so we're going to bring services to them. Obviously, big dream is to bring services to all the remote areas so that people can't use transportation or not being, distance as a reason not to get the help. And I think too, just we're branched out with a lot of different partnerships. We're in a lot of the conversations about mental health in our community. We want to make sure that people are getting help that they need, and we're breaking down that stigma.
Yeah. And so how can people find these services if they're interested in
All they have to do is call 304-4673, 304-HOPE, and we can set them up. We kept it to 8 sessions so that we don't build a big wait list. Right now, we're not there, but when it comes, we want to keep that. We're trying to keep everything small. So we offer the 8 sessions. If at the end of the 8 sessions or near the end of the 8 sessions, we see that we're not going to get the work done, we'll look at other options to refer out, or we may end up just kind of extending as needed. And so I don't want people to think that just because it is brief therapy, it's not going to be enough.
Right.
Because even in my private practice life, 8 to 12 sessions is about what people did.
Yeah.
And so we really just focus in on let's get the work done. And so let's get you unstuck in this moment right now and move on.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome what you're doing. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to me today, Nicole.
No.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to On Our Watch. We hope you enjoyed our discussion with Nicole Bourgeois.
Don't forget to subscribe to On Our Watch on your favorite podcast app to be notified about future episodes. You can find our feature-length documentary On Our Watch, as well as a video version of today's episode, in the links below. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back with another episode next week. This podcast is made possible through support from the Greater New Orleans Foundation and executive produced by Bruno UK Steiner.